Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Aubrey. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be all about my favorite podcasts. Before we start off, I just want to apologize if you guys hear any background noise. My parents are like right out there, they're painting, and so they have the radio playing, and then my dog might be barking a little bit. But yeah, I have 18 minutes before I have to get on Zoom for school, so I'm gonna go ahead and tell you guys my favorite podcasts. I've been listening to podcasts so much, especially in quarantine. Like before quarantine, I was obsessed with them, and now I'm just like constantly listening to podcasts. It's like insane. This is like what my library looks like, all very girly, but yeah, I'm just going to talk about my favorite podcasts. Before I get started, I do want to say I downloaded Anchor and I made my own podcast. It's called Hey Girl Hey. So if you guys want to go listen to it, support me, that'd be awesome. My audio in this first episode is so bad, so I'm going to try to fix it for the next one, but this will be live by the time you guys are seeing this video. So yeah, if you guys want to go ahead and support me, that would be awesome. I really appreciate it. It's called The Smart and Stupid Podcast, and I'll link it down below. But yeah, I guess I'm going to go ahead and jump into my favorite podcasts. I'm going to be in any order at all. I'm just gonna go down the list and then tell you guys the name, who it's by, and then why I like it. The first podcast I subscribe to and have been listening to for a long time, it's What We Said. I feel like everyone knows what this podcast is by JC Marie and Chelsea Jade. They in their like description, they say like, we're gonna be your next best friends or whatever, and their podcast makes you feel like you guys are best friends. They have really funny episodes, and then sometimes they also do interviews, and you can just learn a lot. I think this one is a little bit more chill, kind of what did I just say? It's a little bit more chit-chatty, and I really enjoy that. Next one I have is The Real podcast. This is by Natalie Barbeau. I actually came across this in late February, and I'm already caught up. I really like her. She lives in New York, and 2 years ago she graduated from college, and she quit her like day job, and now it's just kind of like doing a freelance business. So I like this is she has a lot of interviews. That's a majority. I think all of them have interviews. Interview type podcasts really make me like feel motivated, and I love just learning from these entrepreneurs or how they started their business and like all that. I just threw my phone. I really enjoy learning about that stuff, and I would recommend that one. Next one is We Bought a House. This one is new. It's by Claudia Sulewski and Phineas. They just talk together, and it is so funny. I did not listen to them until I think I saw Claudia Sulewski on someone else's podcast, and then they started a podcast, and I followed her on Instagram and YouTube, and so now I'm kind of just like obsessed with them, and their relationship is so cute. But that is another one I would recommend. Battery is flashing at me, so if this dies, I'm going to have to finish this video after my Zoom. Should have charged my battery last night. The next one I have is Jin Z Girl. This is by Abby Aslan. In my podcast, I brought this up and I said Ashley Aslan, and I just feel so bad because it's Abby, but I just found this one, already caught up. She is about to graduate. I'm pretty sure she's graduating this year, and then she's going to graduate school. Hers is just kind of motivational, and she talks about college and then going to grad school and everything, and I really like it. Hers have a lot of like tips. Overcoming fear is one of them. This one is just like, she's closer to my age, so I can like relate to her, and she just talks about really good stuff. I have is But What's Next with Michelle Reed. She just started this podcast, and the reason I downloaded it is because Katie Bellotti recommended that, and we'll get to her podcast in a second. But hers is like But What's Next. This podcast isn't actually from my age. It's for people who have graduated college, and they're like, but what's next? You know, get it? Good title. I really do enjoy it. She just released her second episode yesterday when I'm filming this, and yeah, it's just kind of like talking about what you need to do. Like this past episode was like negotiating your first salary as a woman, and so you can just learn some really good tips from that, and I'm really excited to see how this podcast like goes. This one is Call Me Candid by Haley Pham and Lily Ann. I follow, or I'm subscribed to Haley on YouTube, so I just kind of wanted to support this. Theirs is like really fun and really upbeat and bright, and they are under the business category, but I feel like theirs is more, again, just like tips and stuff. They do have some businessy things like how to grow on Instagram or like tips on how to do things like that. I really love them. I love all of the podcasts I subscribe to are like girl bosses. So that's like my overall theme. These are all kind of essentially the same podcast, just with different hosts, but that's okay. I have is Thick and Thin by Katie Bellotti. Hers is a little bit different. She doesn't do interviews. Hers is more just like a personal diary, and she also talks about history. This is definitely one of my favorite, and also she has the best podcast voice. It's honestly amazing. This is another one I would really recommend, and she talks about the truths about dating in New York and just living in New York, and then she also quit her day job and is freelancing right now. That's one that I would definitely recommend. At the end of this, I will do my top 3, I think. Just that way, if you guys don't want to do all of these, you guys can look at my top 3. So I have Anything Goes by Emma Chamberlain. That was originally Stupid Genius. I have listened to it all through it, and I'm really liking her new format. It's just, again, like kind of like a personal diary, kind of like Katie Bellotti's, and I don't know, it's really nice. It's nice hearing Emma talk in a different type of like a diary. I don't know, I feel like I'm repeating the same thing, but like honestly, it's like a diary. That's all I can say. Next, I have Mood with Lauren Elizabeth. I had no idea who Lauren Elizabeth was, but she has some really cool interviews. Like she interviewed, I think this is how I found Claudia, because right here it has Claudia Sulewski. Maybe that's how I found it. But I think I was just working on an assignment and I needed a new podcast to listen to. So I clicked on this one and fell in love. She has a really good interview with Cassie Randolph. I didn't watch Colton's season on The Bachelor, but yeah, I really like her. And yeah, she also interviewed like the guy that plays on Wizards of Waverly Place and is like Alex's boyfriend, werewolf boyfriend. And I thought that was cool that she like knows him and stuff. But yeah, okay, we're like a little over halfway done and my camera battery hasn't died yet. My parents are vacuuming out there, so I'm really sorry if you guys can hear that, but we're gonna keep on going. Next is Whoa, That's Good podcast. I actually have Sadie Robertson's book right here. I know you guys can't see it, but I'm not gonna move my camera. Yeah, that one's really good. She talks to different people every single episode, and they give some really awesome advice, and it's also just a really good faith Christian based podcast, and I really enjoy that, and she's just so energetic and I really like her vibes. That's a little bit different. It's Office Ladies. They analyze all of the Office episodes and I just love that. I'm like a super fan of The Office, so I really enjoy this podcast. And I mean, I always loved Pam and Jim, and so when I saw that Jenna Fisher was one of the hosts, I was like, okay, I have to listen. I have Full of Joy by Francesca Borman, and she just talks about how she finds joy in the different types of situations or different vibes. Again, she just like is super motivational, and it makes me want to be happy, like look for the good, not look for the bad. And I had no idea who she was. That's a good thing about podcasts, is you can find a podcast that you have no idea who they are, but you can feel like you relate to them so much, and then you actually help them because then you follow them on like all the social media. But I cannot say the word because I do not cuss, but it's Be Work by Jordan Rebecca, and she talks about all the steps it takes to get to a successful place. So she interviews people on how or what they did to intern or like how they got to where they are now, and I really like this. Although I'm not in the stage where I'm looking for a career, it's just again really motivational, and it makes me like think about what I want to do in the future, and I really appreciate that. I have Honey Soleil, and this one is by Sienna Mirabella. Hers is again just like kind of like tips, motivational. Some of them, she just started this in January, and she has some raw talks, creating a healthy and balanced life. She did an interview with Natalie Barbu, and I'm pretty sure she did one with Katie Bellotti, yeah. And I follow both of their podcasts, or I'm subscribed to both of their podcasts. So again, kind of in the same genre. Second to last one is Soul Sugar. This one is by Carrie Rad. She's actually a little bit older. She's in her 30s, I believe, and I really enjoy her podcast. She always ends it with a soul sugar moment where you just kind of like take time to like breathe and realize where you are, and you get all this awesome advice from all these different types of people. They talk about body image, they talk about what else? Tips for getting through quarantine. And I'm gonna try to get through this, so I'm so sorry if it's too loud, but I really need to get through this. I'm so close to getting done. Usually I would stop because of all this noise, but I'm gonna push through, especially because my battery is flashing at me. So yeah, that is the second to last one, and the very last one is the Dream Achieve podcast, formerly the Hannah Ashton podcast. She actually quit this podcast in December, but I flew through this. I found it 4 days ago and I finished it yesterday, and I just want to say it was so good, so motivational, and it was like she started it at my age, which is like when I was listening to this podcast, I was like, okay, I'm starting a podcast, even if it doesn't go anywhere, I'm doing it. And yeah, okay, that is all my podcasts. I'm gonna put my top 3 right here because I need to hurry up because my battery is flashing at me and it's so loud.
Feeling good, like I should.